This is IBM Museum, and I still have that IBM PS2 Model 60 on the bench behind me, opened up. I haven't really done any cleaning yet, but I'm going to go through and prepare this machine a little bit more, and I want to use it to demonstrate a particular aspect that I'll be addressing more in later videos. So let me get turned around, and I'll actually be going through and bringing up the video capture here in a moment, just because that's going to be where a lot of this video is focused on. But I have gone through, primarily have put a fresh battery in here. I didn't have to run through the reference diskette or anything like that with this bad diskette drive. What I did is, with the system operating, I went through and effectively hot swapped it. I pulled the old battery with the machine running. I know the configuration's good, and I wasn't seeing the time and date update on this, and that's a particular aspect. In fact, I need to. My camera setup is actually in the way of the drawer that I have my voltmeters in, but I need to go through and actually test what the voltage is of this as well. But I've got a fresh Panasonic battery in here. These are still available, brand new, from links like Amazon. They're not even out of date batteries or anything else. I mean, the same manufacturer of the Panasonic brand for these batteries, and I just hot swapped it in basically when the machine was operating. Of course, I went through and set the time and date, powered it down. I'm very aware that this is going through and holding the configuration now and updating the time and date. All that is good for the length of this battery, which should be a matter of at least a few years. And so I've got more cleaning to do eventually, but I wanted to go through on the video capture side and just to demonstrate one aspect that has come up currently, although I intended to go through and make this more of a topic. Let's get switched over to the VGA input. Okay, get myself back up on screen here. And again, we don't have an autoexec.bat. That's why it's prompting us for time and date. But this time and date is current. So we're doing really, really good here. But what I want to do is, let's go through and let's put a proper autoexec.bat in place. So what I want to do is to look at that file that we saved, which we called autoexec.s36, just to show some of the things here. For us creating the autoexec that we're going to use in this case, I don't want to get into any of the later statements, but I do want to get that echo off and the prompt and the pass statement. And so we're going to go through and just do a copy con. And that just copies from the console, effectively the screening and keyboard input, to our autoexec.bat. We don't have a current autoexec.bat. And we're going to do and I don't have to type this in uppercase or anything else like that. It's not case sensitive. So that goes through and it turns off what's called the echo, echoing statements of the batch file as it executes. And the leading @ symbol actually turns off the echoing of that echo off statement itself. So you get a less verbose listing than just having that statement out of the autoexec.bat. And so we'll do a prompt. And I thought it was I always thought it was an equal sign, but let's go through. And I think this is case sensitive for the $P $G does a particular, it echoes the current path, this current directory that you're in. And that's what we've seen in the course in the past. And then I want to do the pass statement, and we will do, and I always thought that that had an equal sign too. Maybe I'm thinking of later DOS versions. I'm just going to mimic what we have here. And I want to get at least the DOS subdirectory in there. And I think we're good otherwise. In fact, let's go through. I think I want to do the root directory just for all that anyway. Separated by semicolons, as I remember. I think has that, and I don't think we have to put the backslash in there, but we'll see. So we do a Control Z at the end, and it will go through and save that away on the hard drive. So let me take a look. I don't think I'll necessarily have to mimic anything in the config sys. And that's a file that we saved away before. Files, buffers. Yeah, we can probably get that. The files, buffers, last drive. It's got the file control blocks. Probably would be good to go through and again, we don't have any current config.sys file in there. We're going to do a files. And this is definitely where it's got the equal sign in it. Buffers. Now I'm just going from the current settings that are in there. I don't need to add any of these device commands. When we go through and try to get back to the installed PC support 36, I'll just go ahead and restore that to the autoexec.bat at that point. And so I'm just otherwise mimicking. This is like a file control blocks. The file control, and this may do the same effective thing as the files and buffers that are up above. I'm just basically mimicking what is in there. And the same thing, we do a Control Z. Now I wanted to show, of course, if we go through, one of the things I wanted to look for was like the basic command or basic A. And that's normally with the PC DOS, of course, is in the DOS directory. Now, those are program stubs, and those are the aspects I wanted to look at. I want to look at versioning information and things like that. And that's the way you boot into DOS. You could get into that, what is otherwise viewed as the ROM BASIC environment, to go through and do the basic programs. And then you did system to get back out to DOS. And that was different from the system throwing you in, like we've seen in the past, where it's not configured or doesn't have a effective boot drive, where it throws you eventually into the ROM BASIC. And that's just a last-ditch effort to get something up that you could have the system and go through and work with it, not having a boot drive. Boots to that ROM BASIC. Basic in the ROM chips that IBM did. And that's something that IBM did different from the clones. They had the agreement along with DOS for that basic interpreter in ROM BASIC. And so as I say, normally that's in the DOS directory. No, I don't have any pass statement currently. I'll reboot the machine at the end of this, but I wanted to show that for doing something like basic, it's going to tell us bad command or file name because that's not in the root directory. Now, if we go through, just like before, where we go through and change directories, it doesn't, because it doesn't have that prompt statement in there, it doesn't show what subdirectory I'm in right now. So we're actually in the DOS subdirectory. We will have that basic and basic A. And it's even got the PIFs, the program information files, for things like Windows 3.0 and 3.1 that are created there. And those look all original. I mean, we get a good listing for the file sizes and dates and things like that. This is the MS-DOS 3.3, which give me PC-DOS 3.30 that did come out with the PS2s. And so let's go through just to get our autoexec.bat and the config sys that we just went through and generated. Let's get booting to that, show the difference. Okay, so we didn't see a lot of the other information come up on the screen thanks to that echo off. But if we do things like a cd DOS, change directory to DOS, we see that full listing now. And also, from the root directory, we can do, since that we have that pass statement now, I'm going to do the basic command. And so there's basic and there's basic A, and those little sub programs that put you into that environment. I'm going to go through and hide the internal webcam just for a moment, just to show the copyright dates and things like that, of how this shows when you go through that basic method of loading that stub program instead of being dropped into ROM BASIC as it is with no bootable drive. Now, in this case, it's system to go through and return to the DOS environment. Okay. And we can also do the basic A, and basic A just loads some other areas for more of an advanced basic is the thought. Okay. Same way that it shows copyrights, everything else, just sets up a little bit more structure in that. And we'll go through and examine that in the future. And it's the same effective command to go through and return to the DOS environment. So I'm going to go through and pause. I'm going to go through and write up a little program in BASIC. That's going to be the topic of this particular video, going through and putting in a basic program and seeing how that looks from DOS as well. So I'll be right back after I type it in on the pause. Okay, and the basic program that I'm going to put in there is for listing the adapters, that adapter description file, or to give an indication of what adapter description files that we need. I've done that previous on video. It's an original program from Peter Wendt that I've gone through and modified a little bit for my own needs. I like it listing from the adapter number 1 or slot number 1 all the way to slot number 8 on the systems like the small 60. The first thing I do is that screen 1 command, And that goes through and puts it in 40 characters wide. And I wanted to set that mode and describe that before I go through and continue the video and get the basic code that I'm doing. Okay, so the program I put in is from the prior video, and I'll show that what that was. I just went through and copied the text. This is back when I had the beard, of course. But that's the program I've gone through and put in here. The way it overlays on the screen almost is exactly the the same here for the position and everything else I have. So let's go through and let's run this first. And okay, I need to work with my listing because I didn't get that as correct as I hoped to where the slot 8. Okay, so we want to do a list 30. Okay. We're actually going to go through, and I forgot to put the semicolon on the end of that after the Q, as we see just the same as here. It looks like Q7. Okay, so I need to put Q7, 6, Q, okay. Q minus 7. Okay, so actually, I need to work with line 40 to put the semicolon there. Okay, and we just tack it on the end, and when we press the enter key, we should have that program effectively the best way, and that's a little bit better results. Let me go through and hide the image display. I just went through and ran that, of course, F2. Here's running it again. And so it's a little bit better now. It could have space and everything else in there. But what I want to demonstrate, let's do a save. So F4, and we're going to name this just as a EAS token. Okay. And actually want to do let's do a BAS extension on that. Okay. Okay. And for looking at, so let's do a, do we maybe have a space after that? So let's do a list 40. I want to see the, I think I had ultimately a slot, and then what's the slot number? Okay. So I think I had a space in there. Let's see what that one looks like. No, it's not. That messed up our output again. So if we do, oh, because it obliterated my question mark. And my question mark, my quotation mark. So that's what we want. Okay. So we do a list. Okay, we do a run. That's the output I wanted. So we're going to save this one as a new token. And I don't know if there's really any parameters you can do with the save command. I'll have to look at basic for the method it's saving. And the reason I want to do this, okay, and that should save them to the root directory of the hard drive. I heard the hard drive tumble a little bit for when I execute that command. But let's go through, let's return to system and do a okay, so there's our files that I don't know what that earlier, that right bro BAS. In fact, we can look at that in a moment. We wanted to do a matter of looking at how those programs are effectively saved to the drive. Okay. Okay, and we heard the beep, and that's probably a control character, but we see this tokenized data, and we do see some of the print command being human readable, the way it's set up. And we can even see like a difference between to the new token, BAS, just for the factor of that space effectively that we had in there. It ends up being it lists the same the BAS token and new token. New token is actually 1 byte bigger. It's a space that's added in the character in there. Of the number of bytes is 106 bytes, 107 bytes, and there's some structure otherwise. I'm certain of how that basic program is saved away to the hard drive for the system. And but the listing looks less with this new token BAS. I'm just wanting to see the differences of how it shows up on the screen. Let's even, and this is actually quite a bit longer. And I'm sure that it'll do some bells for all that. But let's do this. I don't even know, what this program is. That was already on the desk. Right, bro. We'll have to figure out what that is at some later point, or to load it might be a good demonstration as well. Let's go through and look at the. Wow, that actually looks. It's got a lot of ASCII text and everything else as a way. But let's go through and get into our basic. In fact, I should have maybe even tried the advanced basic just to see, because no telling what that program may need. And let's do a F3 for load. And let's do a write bro.bas. And probably at some point in subdirectory listings and everything else, I would have to go through and put that in correctly. Direct statement in file. Okay. Okay. So direct statement in file. Okay. And so I'm guessing I'm gonna do let's do a I don't know why it puts the quotation mark just right up on the load. I'm wondering if that's what it's complained about. Right. Bro. Dot. And I don't think I need to give it the path ahead of that. Notice it's on the C drive. We'll see what this does. Okay, so let's do and that sees the system. Or at least it made it unresponsive for a moment. I was just wanting to see that program run. So let's do basic A. I'll have to look over the basic listing. I have the basic books. I need to show those on video too. Let's do a load C : /. I don't think this is what it's complaining about though. Right. Row EAS. Or whether this takes more, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, it's direct statement of file. We're just gonna encounter that a whole bunch, I guess. But at least we got to see the tokenized storage of these basic files for this older version, basically of BASIC, and how they're stored away on hard drive. They're stored as a tokenized piece and not necessarily fully readable at all. And there were supposed to be editing programs that could go through and to convert them basically to a text or a human readable file, at least, not necessarily for execution, but for how just to be able to examine or look at the basic programs in a form. And I'll have to decide why that maybe there's a switch of how that that write bro BAS file is saved and get a look at it to kind of see what's going on there. But that was actually the topic of this video. I wanted to go through and see what that tokenized basic, what they look like. And so now we know. But, enjoy this content, really off the wall, I guess. Go ahead and click on that like button and subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already. But this is IBM Museum. That's all I have for now. Thank you.